Well, good weekend, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your Memorial Day. Yes, it is Memorial Day weekend. It is the 24th of May, Saturday, 2025. I'll come to the stock market and talk about all that and the news coming out in a moment here. What we have, though, is my Memorial Day celebration. 40% off any of my courses, my full charting course, for example, my Bollinger Outside Day course. And by the way, you can buy those as graduation gifts. Tell us who you're buying it for. If you've purchased it, they will turn it on when they're ready, so it doesn't have to be used right away. You can buy for yourself any of the research plans. Those do get turned on right away. 40% off. Be it the Spider, be it the combination of Spider and the futures, my written updates, any of the plans. Just go to iraepstein.com. It's pretty simple to do. When you go into research, you'll see this there. You don't need a discount. Courses, they'll all be there. There's an icon up here you can work with or right through here. So let's talk about the market because basically that's everything. Remember, the markets are closed on Monday. So you're really going to sit until Tuesday looking to see what's going on. You know that the shocker was early in the morning on Friday, President Trump in frustration with the European Union out of nowhere said 50% tariffs on all goods coming out of Europe. Later in the morning, Scott Bessent was interviewed, and he said that the negotiators are really getting nowhere with Europe. They're very far apart, and so far apart that he doesn't see it working. Therefore, to prod them on 50% tariff. That'll get everybody waking up there if they want to do business. Europe, of course, is going to sit back, and they're going to have their own plan against the United States. But we've seen how that works out. And it doesn't work out in the best way. I just read how Switzerland, which has a 31% tariff potential for us, they want to make a plan and be done with this. And Japan I'm hearing they want to get this deal done by early June. And I'm talking very early June, possibly before the G7 summit. So what I think we're going to see happen here is that remember I said the market's going to switch. It's going to look for something new because the tax situation, that was pushed off to the Senate, and that'll take all of June, maybe a good part of July to get before we know where we're at with that in any manner. First got to come out of the Senate back to the House. So what were we going to look at? Well, the president answered it. We're going to go back to the trade war, and we're going to throw tariffs, expensive tariffs, on those who don't listen. As an example, the second thing that happened during the day is the president turned to Apple and said, you know something, I don't like the idea that you're building another plant in India. I don't see you building it and making your phones here. 25% tariff on you. Later in the day, the president eased up some of what he said, and you had a little bit comeback in the market when he said, you know, I'm not going to just punish Apple. I'm punishing all the phones. So any phone not made in the United States, bingo, 25% tariff on you. So he sort of leveled the playing field. For Nvidia, some good news. It appears that Nvidia is coming out now with a chip for China. Remember, 13% or so of their business is China. And it's shrinking rather sharply. And this chip, it'll be a version of the Blackwell, not the old H20, is going to be downgraded to meet what the U.S. says the specs have to be, and it's going to be priced about 30-40% lower than the Blackwell chip. So you're maybe an $8,000 chip, according to the articles I read. And it will be ready in June. So we're talking right now, right here. We'll see if the president's going to allow that, but that's a good move. Tesla, you know that the outage happened today. Don't know what that's about. I stand corrected. Last week I inferred that, in fact, I might have said that Starlink was part of Tesla. It is not. It is certainly owned and controlled by the same person, Elon Musk, but it's part of SpaceX. It is not part of Tesla. I like to be corrected when I'm wrong, and I'll make note of it. Sorry about that. So we now know what the new thing is. The new thing when you come back is the market's going to start running as to who can make a deal, Can we get that down on paper? You know it's going to be a memorandum of understanding. We've seen that the deals that have already been consummated, that is the way that they're going, and the president can live with that. None of the 10% tariffs are going away. So what does this mean? Well, we had a pretty good correction in all the stock indices, as you now know. We are looking, PANW was higher. You can see the markets that had a bit of a bid with them. Was the break super bad in the stock indices? It was not. It came back because what I said is the president, after rattling the market at 6:40 in the morning or so Central Time, came back and opened the door a crack if these companies want to do something. I don't know how the phone manufacturers can get away from this if they're making their phones abroad. They don't have the facilities here, but they could probably get the president to agree to something with them in the way of memorandums of understanding, promises what they're going to do. I don't know. The gold market, I expect more of a bid. The talks today between Iran and the United States are not going well. They didn't even schedule another talk. They said they're still far apart. They want to talk. They had a 2-hour talk. That's not one of these 8-hour marathons like was had with China to get a deal done. So we will find out. I expect that you will hear more saber rattling out of Israel over this. That would not surprise me. So let's go to the markets and see what we've got. And I want to go back and cover with you Rivian. And by the way, sometimes I leave this up so you can see the different patterns. I have so many studies in this charting software, and they're easy to use. I just keep them up there. But figured, hey, why not just show them? The reason I'm coming back at Rivian, you know, every now and then I look at a market and I say to myself, what is the chance of this company going down or not making it? I think exceptionally small that they won't financially make it. They have their new products coming out. Living in Illinois, we see the news that comes out of Normal, Illinois, the city where they're building their plant, they're expanding it, and where now they've gotten this big amount of land that manufacturers to them are going to do it. They're made in America. So this is going to be something. I'm getting of the opinion the next pull down in this market is the one you want to buy and put in your portfolio to just sit and hold. Is it overpriced on a PE ratio? It is. You're not buying that. You're buying that they can be one of the survivors of this, and they're in pretty good shape. In addition, the numbers are starting to improve, and they're going to have their new Rivian soon. When we look at where the market's at, on the weekly chart, you have higher lows, higher highs, bullish, all right? Next thing, when you look at moving averages, the market is over the 100-day average. It's over the 100-week average and over the 18-week average. But there's no 200-week. The company's not that old. So it's a brand new company, a couple of years old, so you don't have them listed on the stock exchange for that period of time where I can give you where the moving average is on that. It's over the Bollinger Band. That's why I'm now highlighting it. I want it to pull back. I want to see where it can pull, but I'm thinking now, originally I thought, if you'll remember, the $11.50 zone. I liked this about 6 months ago there. And now I like this market again, and I think it's in that $11.50 zone, probably an area that I'm going to look at it hard for my subscribers. I have not said to pull the trigger on it. It is also overbought at this time. So I like to bring things up when I think there's something that can last down the road. In the CME group, as long as you have this type of trading volatility, this is a money machine. Now, there are threats to it. You know that Cantor's new Treasury trading platform is opened. There's others that want to come on. Eventually, they will be threatened. Remember the stock exchange, other spin-offs happen. But for the futures market and for the derivatives they are a powerhouse. In Netflix, even with all that's going on, the market for the week down 0.5% at 6.14. You're at a resistance point. You're overbought. This is not a market I'd go telling people to chase. If you miss it, you miss it. Eli Lilly still hasn't been able to come alive, even with all the news that some of their competitors can't catch up with their products. This doesn't look good still, and that's why I want to keep showing that. Home Depot had a huge reversal this week, down 5% for the week. So you would think the market wouldn't get hit off of that, but you know, interest rates going up to where they're at is a real problem, because you've got to ask yourself, the end of their business that's home building, what is that going to do? Remember, they're huge suppliers to the home industry. Yes, we know that the people that are still out there on the weekends, us weekend warriors doing our lawns and all, we're going to be there. But that part of their business definitely under pressure. You can see where the market's here. We know that they don't feel they have to raise prices. The problem is, where's the demand for the goods from the builders? That's my interpretation. I could be very wrong on it. That's how I'm reading it. In Uber, you've gotten up pretty high. You're at a Bollinger Band. You're due for a correction. If the whole market starts slipping down because of the trade talks and President Trump getting a bit rougher on trade partners that haven't made progress with us so far, all of these markets can feel some pressure. But Uber isn't part of that trade. Uber is just with the emotion of the market more than anything. I love their positioning long-term for autonomous cabs and driving. I think it's phenomenal. In Dutch Brothers, I still like this a lot. I think they're very well run. I think that they had their correction. They got too high. You and I were talking about that way up here, if you'll recall. It had its break, and it's finally gotten back to the point where I think the professionals are going to look at this market around the $65 mark to see if it's good. They won't want to see prices slip back under here. Let's call that 55.5, 55.42. That's the numbers I don't want to see it slip under. But right through here, you're not overbought. I'm looking for more support in the market. In XLI, you have higher lows, higher highs. I'd be very careful against the upper Bollinger Band. You're overbought. These industrial companies, they've been insulated. The big boys have done real well. I believe that they're due with the general market for a pullback if this marketplace can't put on good rallies at this point in time. When you see my futures, I labeled for you on the weekly futures what I'm seeing in different markets there too, compared to their highs and where they're at. You know, it feels like the market's down a lot. It isn't. You'll see that. When you look at XLE, the energy, well, this was the weekend that the market saw the futures markets at least recover a little bit on Friday. But I don't think this Iranian situation is going the way the markets want. I think that OPEC is ready to step in on any lost Iranian oil. And I do believe that the president is getting frustrated, real frustrated. I think we saw that on Friday with these two huge events against Apple and against the European Union. So if you think he's going to be patient with Iran, you're just in a different school than I am. And for those of you that don't like when I talk politics, don't watch. You can't trade some of these markets without understanding the politics that moves them. If you believe the market just fell on its own without the European Union getting a 50% tariff hit out of left field on them, I don't agree with you. And I'm going to say what I want then. Where you're fighting in this market for support is very clear. It's the 200-week moving average of closes, but you have resistance at the 18-week, the 100, and momentum sort of flat. So I'm viewing this as a bear market rally that occurred, and it's suddenly starting to run out of steam. It was down 4% on the week. In the dollar index, I don't see the dollar going up here. I realize that the key is, can it get under 26.99, the last low? It is oversold. I am not saying to go short in an oversold market. You're not hearing me say that. But I don't see anything that's bullish the dollar right now. And that's the problem that I'm having. In the gold market, between inflation, between fear of what these trade talks will do, between fears to what the dollar might do, I can see corrections happening, but I'm certainly not joining the bear camp in that. Copper has come alive. Copper is seeing something in China that it apparently likes. I happen to think part of it, and I brought it up during the week, was that Countrywide was able to get its creditors, most of them, to agree to a restructuring. I think that China realizes they have to turn around consumer sentiment and that they have to get their market, the building market, back on its feet. And I think the market might be thinking that was the worst situation you're going to have. I don't know, but it's a guess. So when you put this all together and you look at the chart action that you get and how we do it, and that's what I'm showing you. These are the type of charts that you look at in my morning paid subscriber videos. You'll see Bollinger Bands, other moving averages. They'll be in jet black, just like this. My slow stochastics, and there is where I'm able to say, I want you to buy here. I want you to sell here. Here's the stop. We track every trade that you're in until we're out of it. No, I don't publish track records. I don't manage people's money. That's not what I do. I'm about throwing ideas at you. You decide if you're going to do it and if this is something for you. If it's not, you walk away from it. But I think you'll find if I can throw out a good idea here and there using things and ideas you can understand and relate to, then I've done my job. Again, we have our Memorial Day sale going on. Please don't forget about it. You won't hear about it again with me because I'm not doing any more of these updates until Tuesday, and it will be over. IraEpstein.com, courses and research. Have yourself a great Memorial Day holiday.